Hi everyone, and welcome to MA 215 Module 4 videos covering chapters 9 through 11 in your textbook. This week we are going to focus on experiments and observational studies, as well as how to set up a simulation of an experiment. So our first video talks about randomness and what it is. So what does it mean to be random? It means that we know equally likely outcomes could happen, but not what will actually happen. For instance, when we roll a die, there are 6 outcomes that are equally likely. We don't know that when we roll we'll get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but we know that it's one of those 6 outcomes. Same thing with flipping a coin, drawing a card from a deck, etc. So randomness means that we've got equally likely outcomes, but we don't know which one will happen. However, there are some problems with randomness. So picking a number from 1 to 4, the problem with that is 75% of people choose the number 3. Scenario, flipping a coin, you've probably heard that coins are weighted a little bit differently. In particular, there is a theory that says whichever side is facing up when you flip it will land face up 51% of the time. So again, mostly random, but not quite. For this last one, I'm going to let my calculator choose some random numbers. So I'm going to follow the instructions on the screen to choose math, and then arrow to probability, and then I'm going to choose rand, int, which means random integer, 0, 1, 1. Now what this tells my calculator to do is that it's going to choose a random integer from 0 to 1, which means the only choices are 0 and 1. And I only want one of them. And so the first time I do that, I end up with 1. And then I'm going to do that again, so second enter, and I get 1 again, and I'm going to repeat that process. And so far it's following the same pattern, 1, 1, 0. I'm thinking the next one's probably going to be a 1, then a 0. And notice it was in fact a 1 and a 0. Now how do I know that's going to happen? Because before I showed you this example, I cleared out all of the RAM. This is the order that it tells the calculator to give you those values in using the random integer generator. So even though, yes, it's random, it's really just following a specific algorithm. So here I was able to sort of cheat the system by resetting my calculator back to a cleared RAM and starting that over. So if you want to try that on your calculator just because you're curious, you can do second plus and then 7, 1, 2, enter, and it clears your RAM. Now keep in mind that you will have to turn your diagnostics back on if you choose to do that. So I've already showed you how to do a random number in your calculator. Of course, I just chose from 0 to 1, but you could choose from 0 to 99 if you needed all 100. If you're going to make random numbers in StatCrunch, it's equally as easy. We're going to go to Data, then Simulate, then Discrete Uniform. That brings up this menu where you can choose how many rows, how many columns do you want. I chose 10 by 5. And then we're looking for the minimum and the maximum. So again, pay attention to your question when you're choosing the min and the max. If you're using just all, random numbers from 0 to 99, that's what I chose here. I didn't mess with anything else. And then notice it gave me 10 rows and 5 columns. And that's what I had asked it to do. So it's very easy. I just click compute at the end. In Excel, there are actually 3 different ways that I'll take you through. The first one is just to put rand, and then whatever's inside gives a rational number between 0 and 1. Keep in mind that that is only a number between 0 and 1. A better way is to use integer and then rand between. So integer basically takes whatever random number you get and rounds it to an integer. So this is a really good way to go because then you don't have to do any rounding. So it's integer, rand between, and the rand between just says what 2 values do you want your random numbers to be between. So lowest integer, highest integer, that might be like 0, 99, etc. This is the only option that gives the integer output, so that's the one I would suggest you doing. And then last way is to use that data analysis tool, go to random number generation, and then the number of variables is the number of columns of data that you want. The number of random numbers gives how many rows. The distribution, uniform is what you want because we're looking for equally likely results. The between, obviously you choose the values that you want your integers to be between, but again, this gives you decimals. So if you end up with this option, then you would have to format those columns to turn them into whole numbers instead.